you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Dr. Voss here from thechrisvoss.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the only things that makes official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is the oldest living podcast that still does 1 to 2 new daily shows broadcasted, and nobody else is doing that from the original handful of us left. So help keep the old pirate ship alive here. Go to goodreads.com /Chris Voss, linkedin.com, facebook.com, youtube.com /Chris Voss, one word.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not endorsement or review of any kind.
Today's featured author is brought to you by Majestic Authors Media, specializing in strategic marketing and publishing to help authors reach their ideal audience and maximize their book success, turning powerful messages into global impact, one story at a time. Today, amazing young lady on the show. We're going to be talking about her insightful book and her journey through life called My Path to Global International Relations, a semi-autobiographical textbook by Dr. Vendulka Kubalkova. Welcome to the show, young lady. How are you?
Thank you so very much. I'm very honored to be invited.
And we're very honored to have you. Can you give me your .coms, your websites, wherever you want people to get to know you better on the internet?
Okay, I will just spell the letters DrVKubalkova, which is Dr. V. Kubalkova. One word, DrVKubalkova.com.
All right. And can you give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside your new book?
The book?
Uh-huh.
The site has got the story of my life, but it also highlights the book.
There you go. Highlights the book. Now, give us more of an in-depth overview. This is a memoir, I believe, of yourself and all that good stuff. Tell us more about that.
It is not a memoir because I don't talk about my love affairs and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because memoirs is for Hollywood megastars. Who the hell would be interested in my little memoir? This is an autobiography in the sense of documenting my very complicated life. When I was 24, I was recruited by KGB, which means the Soviet Secret Service, because I won a scholarship to study in England. And they said, unless I agree to work for them, I will not be able to leave the country. And I will also not have any job back home in Czechoslovakia. So I said yes.
And that you were living in Prague at the time?
I was in Prague, and I just graduated. I got my doctorates in international law, and I won, which was a miracle, I won an English scholarship to go, and that was from behind the Iron Curtain. That was absolutely unbelievable. I was to go to study in England. But they caught up with me.
So did you have to do some spy work?
I had to promise. But I was naive, and I had principles. And I believe I still have the principles, because that's all you really have. So I blown my cover.
Oh, when you got over there?
Yes, almost immediately, about 5 or 6 days later. Yeah, 24, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that meant that I could never return.
Yeah. What time was this in? This is kind of probably during the peak of the Cold War and USSR.
Exactly. I was raised in the Soviet system. Czechoslovakia was a Soviet satellite. It was an independent republic or whatever. But we pretty much functioned as a part of the Soviet Union. That's why behind the iron. And this miracle that somebody invited me to go and study in England was immediately noticed. And that was the beginning of my end. They caught up with me and they said, "You have got to work for us." And the trouble in a totalitarian country that you learn not to speak about anything to anybody. So I did not speak to my parents. I did not speak.
Oh, really?
No, because information is a burden. If you implicate people, if they know something which they probably should. Yeah. So I never had anybody advising me. I had to wrap it by myself. I said yes, because I knew that I had no choice, because they threatened me. They said, if I refuse, I can kiss bye-bye to Korea in Czechoslovakia as well.
Wow.
So I said yes, okay. But I went to Britain, and I had my tasks. One of the target of my information intelligence was quite a well-known Sir Cecil Parrott, British ambassador to Moscow, and then to Prague. And he was, apart from other tasks which I had, he was allegedly organizing some anti-communist activities, and my task was to actually report on him. He liked me, so I was in fact in his office, as it were. I was helping him with organizing his library or whatever, so I was there. I could have very easily done it. Oh, I said, Sir Cecil, I am here. Bye on you.
And then where you go from there, you go on this journey with you outline in your book, where you go from growing up in that sort of repressed Soviet environment to now being a global international relations expert. Well, how did that transpire from here to there?
It was that I was stateless, undocumented for donkey's years, with no passport, no document. That's no fun. I had a piece of paper which had a photograph. It had a name on the village where I was born, and that I was 5'7", and that I had hazel eyes, but it did not give me the name of the country, because it would serve somebody to extradite me. You see, so I was without any country. So that was the little piece of paper which I had. And I had it for about 10 years, which means I belonged nowhere. And I'll tell you what, it's not very good for your ego. You be this big because you are nobody. You have no history. You are nobody. So anyway, you asked how I actually continued. Bottom line was that I blown my cover. The MI5, which is the parallel of the KGB, the Czech version of it, STB. They investigated me left, center, and so on. And bottom line was that because the Czech KGB, and that was a little trick, they were contacting me. And that way they were casting suspicion on me that I was still working for them. Crafty. So the British wanted to extradite me. Can you imagine that? I'm 20. And they to send me to Prague, and I think I would have been executed because it was a high treason. So anyway, the bottom line was that I continued. I finished a PhD, English PhD, which took me 4 years, which was a record time. And because I knew that they were after me, I was lucky that I had actually 2 postdoctoral fellowships offered to me. So I jumped on the plane and I flown to New Zealand, away from British.
Wow. So you want to make sure that you could get far and away from them trying to claw you back and maybe pick you up and drive you back over the border there or whatever.
Yeah, they would have done, because extradition is that. They were knocking at my door and they were saying, Miss, the British with the funny, the policemen with the funny hats, they were saying, Miss, you have overstayed your welcome. When are you leaving? Can we help you? Yeah.
Did the New Zealand have a non-extradition agreement with USSR at that time?
New Zealand, they were angry with me because I did not even have a proper visa. But I was desperate. I just wanted to get away. So I promised that I was just passing through, which was more or less true, and that I was heading to Australia. So they allowed me to stay there. But, it was not popular, and I had to repeat to them, listen, it's a matter of months. I am off. I am going to Canberra, Australian National University, because I have got a job there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So then you went to Australia?
Yeah, I went to Australia, and there was a very, very, very famous professor, Hedley Bull. We still teach him, you see, he's dead, obviously. But he was arguing with the Australian Secret Service, and he said, leave her alone. If she's a spy, I could not care less. On the contrary, I want to meet her. I want to know what she knows. She will be I've never met anybody from behind the Iron Curtain. I want to know what she knows, what she thinks, and all of that. And she will be good for also students, because they would have never met. So I was a sort of an apparition from behind the Iron Curtain. So I went to him, and indeed, he safely chased away all of the ASIO, which was the name of the Secret Service there. And when I brought it with me, I have got, to this day, I have got a golden pen, which the people where I in Australia then was, they gave me a pen with scratched into it 1978, the date, when was the date that I was allowed to stay in Australia.
Wow.
So, yeah, but only I was not a citizen or anything like that. Permission to stay in Australia. So that was a major, but imagine, that's 10 years. 10 years that I'm not really tolerated anyway.
Yeah. That's got to be hard, living in limbo, and a lot of people do it, and these days and the immigration courts can take decades to process stuff, sadly. And now people are really not happy with it, because since Syria, I think, kind of made everything kind of weird, where people, and these are people that are escaping just evil places like the USSR and other places, and certainly we should have some more courtesy and care for them. Anyway, so how do you end up becoming an international relations thing? If you can give us a tease out on that you talk about.
Well, I had a doctorate from Prague in international law, because under Marxism, they were not studying international relations per se. It was called historical materialism or whatever. But when I went to England, I studied the Western discipline of international relations. And then I went with that, based upon whatever I started publishing, a hell of a lot. My doctoral dissertation was first of the kind, because I wrote about Marxism in international relations.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll see a fat book, which is still available. That was my doctoral dissertation. And then I stuck to that topic for a while, because nobody knew of what was actually the view of the Soviet Union about how the world will be structured or whatever. The bottom line was that I started publishing and got myself jobs. The first job, which was actually tenable, was in Queensland, Australia. I went very quickly through promotion, because I was academics. I published a lot, because I had a lot to talk about. So I was full professor very, very early. And that is where I really became established as an academic.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah.
This is really wild. And so you end up, you didn't tell your family, I imagine, because it would put them in danger, that you told them that you were planning on never coming back, right?
It was the most horrible part of it, that when I was leaving, I could not consult with them. I did not tell them that I had that fatal meet about 3 days before I was flying to. So they did not know. And of course, I could not tell them, because all of my correspondence would be read, obviously. So I lost contact with everybody, even friends. Because you see, under communism, if you were keeping a contact with somebody horrible like me, who is a refugee on a bad way, they then punish you.
Oh, they punish your family.
Yeah, that's right. So I shut up, and unfortunately, my father would have guessed eventually, but my mama, bless her heart, never knew.
Wow.
Never knew why I did not return. And I caused her a great pain.
It's unfortunate, but you were better off. It's hard to be away from loved ones, especially the youth you were at. Our parents shape us as when we're in our youth, and we need them for support and guidance. And so you really stepped off the thing, but you got free. You got free from behind the wall.
Yeah, I did. But at the same time, until I got naturalized, you are nobody. You have got to realize that you are what you are because you have got the American passport. Because I'm an American citizen. I'm also still an Australian citizen. But without that, I'm nobody. And you feel it. You feel it. You feel that it is no fun. You see. Anyway, so I was not that well off. Luckily, I must say that I have never one single day after I finished my studies, I was never unemployed.
Wow.
Yeah, that was, which means I did not have to rely on any charity or anything like that, because I was making my way through the academic ranks. And of course, in my favor was that I was a sort of apparition from behind the Iron Curtain.
Wow.
That was in my favor, which was really horrible. Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. So but I never recovered from the pain which I caused to my mother. She never knew.
Wow.
She probably just thought that I jumped the border, because lots of people would just jump the border. There was a lot of people who were escaping from communism, but I was not a refugee. I am an exile.
Yeah. And maybe she assumed that you did that, and the reason you weren't contacting her was for the best, right?
Yeah, it really, and it was a tremendous loss to me too, because my family was the only thing which I had. And the old people say that the worst part about aging is that suddenly there is no witness. So you can be saying I was a good skier or whatever, there is no witness who would actually say, yes, she was. And I am now behind the Iron Curtain and on the other side of it, and there is no witness. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows that I learned how to play the piano when I was 3 years old or whatever. None of that exists.
Wow. That's going to be kind of hard to grapple with sometimes, but you probably have to put your head around it some way, right?
Yeah, it was no fun, and I'm actually surprised that I'm still here.
Sounds like you were pretty resilient, and you were pretty good making your own way, and sounds like you found your way through.
I worked. I published so many books. You can have a look at the website. See, I published hell of a lot, which is actually what we academics are supposed to do. Not to amuse anybody, which is what this last book is allegedly making, but the boring stuff, because that's what academic literature is all about, I have published a lot of it, and thus I have been promoted, because that's how the hierarchy in the academic world continues. So I was fairly early, I was promoted to a full professor.
All right. What a wonderful, great story. What do you hope people come away with when they read your book?
Let me put it this way. I had this idea only this year that I wrote that book, because it's not an academic book. In fact, my colleagues at the university don't even know about it, because it would not count. It is really a little, because academic books have got to not be autobiographical, because that's subjective, it's anecdotal, there is no evidence, and all of that. These two books I published this year, they do not meet that standard. But I decided I don't need to write any more boring stuff. I've written enough. So I tried to write, and it was very easy for me. I wrote it very quickly, because I thought I should share it with somebody, because it, in a way, I was exonerating myself, because I was trying to show that I was an exile, that it was not a sort of selfish effort on my part to have a better life. That was not my plan, because I did not have a better life. So I felt the need to say it. Besides, students, if I mention something like that, they brighten up, because how many KGB agents have you ever had for your teacher?
Yeah, totally true. With your work on your website, do you have some offerings there where you sell stuff, teaching, coaching, speaking, events, things like that?
Yeah, there is a hell of a lot on it. There are all of my books, and there is also my life story showing that I was doing degrees in this, because I'm also a trained musician. That was a great advantage of the communist system, by the way. If I was to name one, this is the one. I managed, because it was all free, education free. In fact, if you were a good student, they would give you a few crowns as a sort of a pat on your back that you are doing a good job. And I nobody stopped me. I studied 2 subjects at the same time: conservatoire, music, and law school. And nobody stopped me, because so long as I was not failing or whatever, it was perfectly all right. So I fully qualified as a musician, which was a concert pianist, which was very, very useful to me, because when I was doing my PhD in England, owners of one of these stately homes, which is a little castle, as it were, they came across me. I was introduced to them, and when they sniffed out that I was a musician, they invited me to stay, because they had a big grand Steinway and nobody was playing it. And they were delighted, because the ladies were cutting the roses in the rose garden in the morning, and they liked to hear the Chopin coming from the window of the music. And that was so strange, because suddenly I am living the life of British aristocracy. Totally crazy. And the beauty of it was that I actually suppressed myself. I was a visitor in their life, and they're saving me, because it was so unreal. Because I never mentioned it, that my father was a bourgeois, my mother actually had a sort of aristocratic background, so we were class enemies. So I was a class enemy, and now I am as a class enemy, ex-class enemy, I am now living with the aristocratic classes.
Wow. What a ways to come, all the way from behind the wall and bread lines in behind the USSR. It's funny, I grew up cowering under the desk, hiding from nuclear bombs from the Russians in my American classroom. We would have these nuclear drills. What do you do if the bombs come in, right?
Yeah.
And
we are at that point again, really.
Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, because really Ukraine and Europe are provoking Putin tremendously. Lots of people who are close to him are saying that he already sent one ballistic missile, because really I don't think that it's very wise how the Europeans are actually handling Russia, because Russia has got the greatest reservoir of nuclear weapons. I read somewhere that it's like Chihuahua barking on a big bear. You provoke. We are provoking through Ukraine also. How long will it take? Look at the map. Look at the monster Russia and tiddly-widdly little Europe.
Yeah, they're in a lot of the Russians in a world of hurt right now. They just delivered 600 drone strikes to Moscow, I think last night or the night before. And the Russians are collapsing. The people are drawing money out of the banks, which is a really bad sign. And Putin's having a demand that entrepreneurs fund the balance sheet by sending in money. Part of the kleptocracy of Russia, if you understand how it works, is he has his fingers in all these pies. It's hard to tell how much he's worth, but he's probably worth more than anyone on this earth.
That is no
Putin
question.
is. Yeah. But he keeps the money parked with family. He keeps the money hidden and parked with oligarchs. But he claws that money back whenever he wants. And it's just like a mob.
Yeah, but don't listen that much to the Western report of which you present. I think the other side of it is that Russia would be very difficult to actually conquer. And
you wouldn't want to do a land war with Russia.
Europeans are now guilty of being crazily Russophobic. They hate Russia so much. I would have every reason to hate Russian, but I don't. Because Russian culture is marvelous.
It is?
Tchaikovsky, Pushkin, Lenin.
Oh, okay. The culture, the beautiful art you guys built. Yeah.
Soul. That's right.
The buildings are amazing too. I remember seeing the Russia House back in the day when they couldn't even film movies in Russia, but they allowed Sean Connery and folks to do the Russia House. And boy, the churches over there that they have are just beautiful. I would love to go over there. I would have loved to have gone over when it was still untouched by Western hands and Starbucks and McDonald's and taking pictures of some of that stuff. But
I went there actually with American students. We had exchanges because I wanted them to see it.
Wow.
That was like 10 years ago. But now, of course, I would not go because the tension is so horrible. And in fact, Zelensky is shooting all the way to Petersburg, where we visited. It's a terribly dangerous situation.
Most definitely. So as we round up the show, is there anything more we want to tease out to people to order the book or to be able to contact you for services off your website?
I don't know. I think, the lesson which I owe my parents, that when I was little, they were telling me, and of course we were very much exploited because we were class, and they were telling me, study, 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 learn, 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 because that's the only thing which you have. Knowledge.
Yep.
Nobody can take it away from you.
Yep. Knowledge is power to the extent by which it's used, as Anthony Robbins would say.
It gets you through, because if I did not have the musical background, would not have been a guest in that place, I would not have finished the doctoral dissertation. I would have just probably committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
Because I was on a watch. Because suddenly you are completely, in fact, I started when it became clear that I'm over, finish, whatever. I was actually hospitalized because I was running high temperature, and psychiatrists talked to me because for a 24-year-old person, it's too much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot to handle, especially at that age. So I'm glad you got through it. Give people a final pitch out to order up your book and your .com so they can find out more.
Oh, the book can be got at Barnes & Noble and Amazon, and on my website, which I think I've given you the information about. If somebody is that keen, I can send it to them digitally, because I don't make a big deal out of that book. I am very, very surprised pleasantly that book has become so very much targeted as something which is good, because I have written lots of stuff before and I've never had this type of because I wrote about constructivism and I wrote about religion actually quite a bit also, but none of that was for consumption of people. That's just for library. And of course now with the artificial intelligence, the game is changing so much that these books are going to be just a memory, which nobody will be buying any books or reading any books, which I fear. So bottom line is that I wanted to convey certain messages that the world is actually not made for people. The Americans are tourists. Yeah, dream on. There is no tourism like this. And people can misunderstand that perhaps if you are a migrant, if your entire family decides to pack up and somehow sneak through, that's what you are, a migrant or emigre or whatever. But when the circumstances actually stop you from returning, then you are an exile. And I was always impressed by a famous Egyptian Edward Said, who actually said the exile is the greatest, the most serious thing which you can do to the human being, to tear them away from his or her roots belong. And I am still homesick. I am a professor in Prague also. You'll see they have me as a visiting professor or whatever. And I, until COVID, I was going there. But I'm a foreigner. And I was teaching there in English because I probably would not manage to talk about professional rubbish in Czech because I would not have the vocabulary for it, because I have not written anything in Czech. Exile is no fun. You can say she's having a great time. Yes, I do. But there is something broken in you when you are exiled.
Yeah.
And there are 100 million people on this planet who are somewhere else that they would not like to be.
Yeah.
And their life is much worse than mine. I was very lucky that I'm actually in one piece. And that's why I have got this message.
Well, what a great story to share with other people. Thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, Doctor.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored when I learned that you are the top podcaster on the planet.
One of them.
I could not sleep because I thought, how the hell will I live up to it? I'm just a professor.
We make it easy. We try and make it easy. But
you have been very good at me.
Thank you. Thank you. And you've been excellent, too, and a wonderful guest. So thank you very much, and continued success. Folks, order up her book wherever fine books are sold. There'll be a link for it on the Chris Voss Show. My Path to Global International Relations, a semi-autobiographical let me recut that. My Path to a Global International Relations, and I screwed that up too. Just so you know, there's a giant camera on my screen and I seem to be having trouble with it. So, My Path to Global International Relations, a semi-autobiographical textbook. Thanks to my audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.